It's because you're failing to lean in and really challenge who you are, who you can become, your skill sets, your mindset, your ability to solve problems. I was unwilling to do any of that. I was willing just to walk away, wipe my hands and say, it's all good. At least I tried. But the future me was pulling me so much that it weighed heavy on me. No wonder I couldn't find happiness. No wonder I felt like there was a hole in my soul. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm sending some last minute reminders. I'm fired up. I am fired up. I am grateful. It's just one of those days where I woke up with so much gratitude, right? Last night we finally got to move into our house that we bought 1 year ago. 1 year ago, and it's been 3 months of planning for the renovations, and then 8 months of the renovations actually happening. And we spent our first night there last night, and it was hard to sleep, right? Because this neighborhood that I moved into was a neighborhood I ran into about 3-4 years ago, and there was a property that we had listed for one of our banks, and I remember going into this neighborhood and just completely just floored by it, right? I was floored by it. But one of the things that I've learned about my mindset is like I don't necessarily stop myself from imagining what is possible. I don't stop myself from necessarily thinking that it is something that's outside of me, because I have too many times in my life I've already I've realized that when I put that limitation, I stay there. And one of the things that I've learned over the years is like, I'm not going to stop myself from thinking big. I'm not going to stop myself from really pushing the envelope. And I remember being in that same neighborhood 4 or 5 years ago and asking myself, like, who do I need to become? Like, how is this possible? Because I remember just looking at the homes, looking at the neighborhood, and I was like, how do people do this? How is it possible for me to do this, right? Because I've evidenced that over many, many years, just like you have, that when you focus on something that you really, really want, you're able to achieve it. And it could be the small things, it could be big things. It could be, even getting your license, starting up a business, getting married, buying that house that you envisioned, that car. We all have evidence of putting our focus on something and asking ourselves better questions, right? Not just shutting ourselves down. And I think that's the biggest mistake that we can make as small business owners, is shutting down the idea before we give ourselves the opportunity to make it happen. And the reality is if we show up every day and think this thought day in and day out, it's going to happen eventually. Again, we've evidenced this throughout our entire lives, but yet we forget when it's something really big outside of us. And I just remember there being in that same exact neighborhood and staring into the neighborhood. I was like, how can I make it happen, right? How is it possible? What do they do? Like, who do I have to become more than anything? And it really is a journey of what I described as nothing spectacular. And this was the thought I had driving into the office this morning. I always say that, right? That my results are nothing spectacular. When I say about my results, I'm not saying I'm at the epitome of where I'm going to be, but I have a lot of gratitude because of where I've been. Okay? And to some, it may not be like a big journey, right? There's so many people that are much more successful, and that's okay. But the reality is I got to compare to where I've been. And to me, it is definitely spectacular, right? Because I know the journey and I know the steps that I took to get here, not only with my business, but with my family. Like the relationships I have with my daughters, the relationship I have with Carla, my wife, the relationships I have with, my agents, the people around me, the people I've invited into my life, my body, the way it functions, it feels great. It feels so good. I was pushing the envelope this morning, and again, it's just this, I was just hit with this gratitude of like, I feel powerful at my age. And I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like, I have all the energy in the world, but it was a culmination of making a lot of the right decisions every single day. And that's where I started questioning when I kept on saying, it's nothing spectacular, right? But maybe discipline is spectacular. Maybe discipline is your X factor. Maybe that's all we ever need to be able to accomplish the big things we want in life. Maybe that's the pathway to scale. It's just doing the same things over and over and over again. And even though they're small, even though they sometimes feel like, you're not making any headway, maybe that's the definition of what spectacular is. Because to me, from where I've been, the lifestyle that I have today is spectacular to me. I don't care if it's defined that way to anybody else, but I find a lot of appreciation in that. And I think we all have to take a moment, because we could all be disappointed when we haven't achieved all our goals. We could all be disappointed when we compare ourselves to someone else. But simply looking back and saying, look where I've been. Look at the lessons I've gained. Look at the strength I've built. Look at the confidence I have. When we start looking at it from that perspective, it's like, okay, I'm getting excited about life. And this is just a stepping stone to the next one, because, I can't carry this chip that I had when I first got into this business. All I wanted to do was to not suffer. All I wanted to do was just to be able to pay my bills. So that was the chip, because my back was against the wall. But that chip will only carry you so far. And you could destroy your life so you can have that chip again. I think that's what happens to a lot of us, right? We get to this point where, the bills are paid, life is good. We go to dinner at nice steakhouses, everything is good. But we fail to look beyond that. So we destroy that momentum so we could have our backs against the wall and we could have that chip again. Oh, I don't want to be broke. I had to let go of that chip a long time ago. I had to find it somewhere else. And it comes to the point where you have to ask yourself better questions. You have to challenge your brain. You have to challenge who you are as a business person, as a husband or as a wife, as a father or a mother. It's like asking ourselves better questions. Who do I have to become? And as I now sleep in my new home, I'm thinking, as I'm driving out of my neighborhood, what's next? And I have this vision already of what my next step is, of what my next endeavor is. And that fires me up. Because I'm not sitting on my laurels. I'm not okay, finally, I'm here. This is just a stepping stone. Because I needed to get here to be able to see even something bigger. Because from where I was at, I couldn't see this bigger vision that I have today. And we got to give ourselves the opportunity to take the risks, to bet on ourselves, to understand that you're going to get up every day to make it happen. That's spectacular right there. That's discipline. And I'm only one day into this house, and I'm I see my next vision already. Who do I have to become? Who do I need to be as a business owner? What kind of leader do I need to become? What kind of skill sets do I need to build? And I'm driving out of this neighborhood and I'm fired up. I'm fired up. There's no anxiety. There's no feeling like I don't deserve it. There's none of that. Because I knew what it took to get here. And some might define it as blessed. Some might define it as big moves that I did, but it wasn't. Unless we can all agree that now spectacular is just discipline every day. Not for days or just weeks, but days, weeks, months, years. This is a culmination of many years. And I look back to who I was, afraid, gun shy, riddled with anxiety, couldn't figure it out, ready to walk away from my family, from my business. I was having a conversation just minutes before I started here. Sergio walks in. It's almost like the future you was pulling you. And it was the person I am today was pulling the guy in 2014, at the end of 2013. when Carla asked for a divorce. And I was like, cool. And it's like the future you, if you're walking around like feeling this heaviness, it's because you're failing to lean in and really challenge who you are, who you can become, your skill sets, your mindset, your ability to solve problems. I was unwilling to do any of that. I was willing just to walk away, wipe my hands and say, it's all good. At least I tried. But the future me was pulling me so much that it weighed heavy on me. No wonder I couldn't find happiness. No wonder I felt like there was a hole in my soul. I needed to have faith. Someone greater than me, I had to have faith in myself. But the future me was pulling me. He's like, you're destined for better. You're destined for something greater. And if you feel this heaviness, consider that's the future you also pulling you forward. None of us are meant to be average. None of us are meant to just take our kids to a certain point and then just have them figure out everything that we couldn't. We're the springboard for the next generation. We need to get up with fire and conviction. Don't just wait to settle. What's next? Who do you have to become? And much of that comes with the problems you're able to solve. And Jermaine, I see you. And thank you for joining me today, man. I saw you this morning. Great leg workout. And I hear you. He says, every problem has a solution. Find the solution. That builds capacity. Solution challenges you to become better. Here's the problem. I'm going to be bigger than the problem. Oftentimes, as business owners, oftentimes it's just as human beings, we stare at this problem and it just becomes bigger and bigger. We succumb to it, so we stay there. A problem is like, just imagine like a step. You solve this problem, you get a little bit higher, a different perspective. Awesome. Another bigger problem comes, you solve that, you're at a bigger step. Now you're able to see the horizon. Now you're able to see the valley as you start climbing up these problems. What is your problem today? Solve that. And there was a second piece to that. If there is no solution, then consider that there's no problem. We're just perceiving the world through a different lens. But we need to be challenged. You need to be challenged. It's not about getting fired up when your back is against the wall. It's who do you need to become? We're creators. We solve problems. Solve today's problem, you'll be stronger tomorrow. You get overwhelmed by today's problem, you're going to be weaker tomorrow. So it's a culmination, making the right decisions, solving problems. And then asking yourselves better questions. Who do you need to become? Again, there's just so much gratefulness in my soul. And realizing that maybe me saying there is nothing spectacular is the wrong way to look at it. Maybe you saying that your life is not a big deal is the wrong way to look at it. I think we have to all appreciate our journeys. And we just can't shut ourselves down when something bigger is on the horizon. Like, think big. I'm thinking bigger, and I'm excited. I'm on my game today. I can't come in here and just put my feet up. Now I'm like intentional. Because that vision now, it just caught my attention. And I'm not going to shut it down. I'm going to feed it. I'm cutting down trees, chopping up those twigs, and I'm feeding that fire. I'm doing it. Because again, I've evidenced in my life when I focus on something, I've always achieved it. It might take a little longer than most, but I'll be able to pull it off. That's what we need to see. But if we're constantly just trying to get to the status quo of just being comfortable enough, then we'll always just be there. We'll always just balance from abundance back to scarcity. Oh, things are good. I'm going from scarcity back to abundance. I didn't realize there's a whole new level beyond that, prosperity. Prosperity. That means always, right? Like it is limitless. Prosperity is limitless. But you got to fuel it by seeing something bigger. So as we start off this week, I'm going to encourage you to just do what's scalable. And thank you, Sergio, for that. He walks in and I'm working on my book. And it said, that's it right there. It doesn't matter where you're at. It's scalable because you're giving your mind a direction of what to do today, where to go, of reminding yourself of who you are. And I want to go back to this very top section. The very top section. And it starts with the I am affirmations. And really, I want you to kind of approach it a little bit different way today, okay? If we can just do this today. We talked about evidencing, right? Everything we've done. You need to evidence your affirmations. I am a great marketer because. I want you to add the because part on there. And I was listening to a podcast that just reminded me, it's just like, it just really just raised my awareness. We all have that evidence. We just have to tell ourselves on a consistent basis. I'm a good business owner because I've grown this brokerage to where it's at. I am a good business owner because I'm a great husband because I'm a great father because. Give yourselves that evidence. We all have that. I am a creator because. I am a problem solver because. I am relentless because this thing that didn't break me. I overcame this tragedy. I am powerful because. So I want you just to take that part and really just start thinking about your own journey because that's where it's going to take you to the next level. And I want you to think big. But take the steps necessary. That's what's going to fire you up. You can't waste a day. I can't just sit here and be like, okay, well, that's good. Finally got into my house after a year. Awesome. Whew. That was a wild ride. It's like, oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. That's all it is. Nothing's going to stop you. Understand that. This industry is not difficult. Marketing is not difficult. Making videos is not difficult. Learning technology is not difficult. It's a problem that you can solve. Solve it. Don't get overwhelmed by the same problem. We think it's so difficult. Now it's become like this giant, right? And one thing that I've said before is like we stare at the problem so much and we overanalyze it. We get overwhelmed that we don't realize it's like we're looking up because it's so big. It's like the shadow, right? It's like when you put a light towards something small and you look at the wall, it looks like humongous, right? But we're looking in the wrong direction. It's not meant to be overwhelming and big. Just look at the source of the problem. It's right here. It's only my coffee. I thought it was a huge, big monster right there with like these vicious eyes and these big teeth. But no, it was just my straw and my coffee. That's all it was. I can solve this. I can dominate this. Who do you need to become? Let's go ahead and I'm going to read some comments here. I want to thank you again. It's real easy to be on this call. It's real easy not to be. And I hope you just found a little bit of inspiration that you can go and just remind yourself what you're made of and who you are and what you're going to accomplish. I want you to come with me. I want you to lead the way. There's people relying on you. They're inspired by you. Let's continue to push forward. It's not difficult. There's a problem, you solve it. Stepping stone. Great. Now I see something bigger. All right, look at that. Good. And every problem you solve, you get through the clouds, right? You start looking down the valley. You're like, yes, spectacular. No, it's discipline. It's relentless. Being relentless, right? All right, let's go ahead. Good morning. The X factor. Yes. That's it. Discipline is the X factor. Like I wasn't born with any unique skill sets. In fact, it was I would say I'm not as skilled as many, but I'll outlast many. I'll outlast most. That's just part of my DNA now, right? It's funny because last night we had so much going on. I was in bed 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I'm like, how am I going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning? I could have broken my momentum, but for what? Lack of sleep? I'll sleep tonight. I'll make sure I'm in bed by 8. But today, I got to get this done. Because if I break today, it breaks the momentum. And I'm on this trajectory that I don't want to mess up. I don't want to hold back just because I'm feeling tired, feeling a little overwhelmed. It's like, no, just get up, dude. It's a tweak in your mindset to do great things. Another great morning. Absolutely, Leonard. Jermaine, what's going on, my brother? Decide what you want and the how will show up. Absolutely, right? If you ask ourselves better questions, it's like your brain starts working on overdrive. We don't want to become sedated. We don't want to just shut ideas down. Like I could have easily said, this is not for me. I'll never be able to afford it. I'll never be able to afford it. This is just outside of my means. I could only imagine if I would have shut myself down. Instead, I just imagined it, just like I imagined this building, just like I imagined this brokerage. I imagined it, what it would feel like, what it would be like, but more importantly, what kind of skill sets I would need to build and increase and develop. I mean, we're all can be much, much greater here in the next 30 days from where we're at now if we just decide. We could all be greater marketers at the end of 30 days. So just imagine months of that and years of that. It's unstoppable. Ricardo, I see you, brother. Thank you. Our future is great. Absolutely. Tap into your inner hero. Taking a look back is important to see how far you've come. It's amazing. Small steps takes you over the mountain. Absolutely, right? Small steps of giant leaps. Juan, I see you, brother. Thank you for joining. George, what's up? Amazing, right? I mean, if you just even reflect what you and Joanna have done over the last year, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's spectacular, right? If you were to compare that to yourself, you would be like, hey, you're going to be here in 1 year. You probably wouldn't believe it from where you were at. But then there was a part of you that truly saw that vision, and that's why you leaned in. We're our worst enemy. I agree with that 100%, Jasenia. But if we put our mind to it, if we challenge ourselves, set these goals, we can attain anything we want. Our mind is powerful. Absolutely, right? And it's not to get to a point where all we're trying to do is get back to the status quo. It's like pushing beyond that. Let that chip. I mean, if that's what you have, like if all of us have, I was pissed off, right? I needed to prove people wrong. And that got me to a certain point. But I was almost like getting a high off of that. And that's why I would just destroy my momentum every time so I could feel that again, right? So I can hear from the naysayers. So I can make this story up. But it was the same story over and over and over again. Like it was always just between abundance and scarcity. And it's like, because I was asking myself the wrong questions and that chip could only stay there for so long. And I needed to go beyond that. What is possible? That fires you up just as much as a chip, which is insane, right? Just envisioning yourself at a greater place is as inspiring as trying to get out of a bad situation. Our mind is powerful. Okay, Todd, never wish for it to be easier. Wish to have more skill. Yes, and that's Joe, what's his name? I forgot the author of that, but I want to thank you guys for joining me for today's Mindset Mastery. Have a great day. And again, I hope that you're inspired to just kill the day. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.